Everyone is turning the Specter build into a generic damage stack, but I think that completely misses the point. And that's not a Specter build, that's just a DPS build for people with imaginary friends. Now what's good everyone, it's Word here, and today I'm going to be showing you my version of that. The version where the Specter actually pays half the rent and not just your gun alone. So let me show you how to actually turn the Specter into a full-time damage dealer, not just a ghost who is just vibing behind you. And hey, if you end up liking this version of the Vax and you want more builds, tier list, or just my stupid jokes, hit the sub button, ring the bell, it genuinely helps the channel grow, and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Now we're going to be jumping straight into the talents, starting with the Dead Ringer tree, because that's where the core engine of this build really comes online. So we're going to spend a couple of minutes about talking about the talents that I'm taking, and then I'm going to make a little bit of a detour to talk about the talents that I'm not taking, and then where is exactly my head is at when I'm deciding or making these decisions. But for now, I'm going to start with Cold Iron for gun damage, and then I'm going to pivot into Grave Assault for fire rate. One note that I would say here. The Specters have a much slower fire rate than what you have. It's not a one-to-one copy. This one is going to be very beneficial for the 3 stacks, which is going to become a lot more stacks. We'll talk about that later. But then we're going to take Grave Fiends. That one is pure damage. It's never going to be wrong, right? And then we're going to take Blood Sacrifice. And here's one of the pivot that I'm going to talk about why I'm not taking certain things. Blood Sacrifice, and the way that I'm going to make it sure that I'm using it is I'm only going to use one Specter at a time, and I'm going to make sure that I keep on recycling that one Specter so that I can always get the kill skills. That is the reason why I'm not taking Sanguine Fiends. I'm using recycling methods in opposed to trying to restore the health, because if I keep one alive, then what's the point of taking Blood Sacrifice, right? It's going to devalue my own talent. So like this, I'm going to try to make sure that my talent is always up in opposed to having it stay alive longer. But moving on to the left side of the tree, we're going to go for Prismatic Ichor, because applying a status effect and then applying another one is just going to be really good, yeah? We're always going to be using status effect guns. That's how we're going to summon the Specters. That's what we're going to use as well. We're going to counter build as we would normally do. This isn't a kinetic bleed build specifically, right? And then we're going to finish off with Keen Suffering. Another deviation here, I like the status effect having a chance to crit more so than the gas debate. Even though I love the name, it gets me chuckling every single time. The point is, I simply don't feel the need for that to be used. I know that you get a Specter, but the Specter doesn't really stay alive that long to get a lot of use out of it. So for DPS perspective, it is useless. For survivability perspective, it is pretty good, but it's on quite a hefty cooldown, right? So even in 3 points, it's like, I think 80 seconds or something of the likes. So it just doesn't really lean itself to be needing, or me to be needing it. But let's move on over to the Incarnate tree, because that is where we're going to finish off our beautiful build here. And the first 5 points are going to go into Gravesite. Another kill skill with critical hit damage and gun handling, it is just going to be useful. And then we're going to go to Bloodletter. This one is very strong. Any kind of crits are going to give a massive bleed debuff. That is just good, right? And then we're going to put 3 points into Gravepire. And the reason why is because a lot of our kill skills are 3 points only. So having that go up to 6 is an insane DPS boost. Much better than having 5 points into Target for Science, I think. This is the first part where I'm going to say that these 2 points are purely optional, depending on your situation. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not here to sell you snake oil. You know me. I'm putting these 2 points in here because I'm testing it at the moment. Raw damage wise, you could just go gun damage, perfectly fine with grape implements. If you don't have a rep kit that is quick recharging, and I'm running a triple bypass with quick recharge, spoiler alert, stick around for the gearing to see that, you could take guns and needles, but I just don't need it right now. So, target prescience for 2 points, and then we're going to finish off with 3 points into Drink Full. And the reason why I'm not going down all the way from Keen Mind, where I can just get even more crit chance to any part of the enemies, all the way down to Mortal Terror, which seems to be very popular these days, is because activating the kill skills when I'm critically hitting is not needed, because I'm cycling the Specter, so I'm always going to be at max stacks, and I cannot get an extra stack on max stacks. You know what I mean? So I'm never running out of buffs, which means that this one would just be wasted points for me specifically. But let's circle back to the Dead Ringer so we can talk about the Augment and the Capstone for this specific build. The Augment is going to have to be Coven. It is going to give you crit chance when you summon them. That is just going to be the most bang for your buck. And the capstone is going to be heirloom. Everyone is right. Heirloom is OP. The Specters getting your gun is really, really fun. Now, a second caveat. The Specters, they do not use weapons the optimal way. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. For example, linebacker or TK's wave. If you don't know what they do, I'll link my Dirty Little Secret series up in here. You can check it out. I'll explain every single unexplained legendary effect in there. But basically, what that means is, for linebacker, for example, they're not going to aim down at the ground so that they can get more bounces out of the grenades. They're just going to aim straight at the enemy, wherever it is, and they're just going to shoot it. So certain weapons are not going to be as good as it is when you using it. Things like Hot Slugger is not going to be quick reloaded, right? And that's just to say that some guns that are insane when you handle it are not going to be as good when the Specters are using it. But having said that, Heirloom is incredibly strong because it does give a unique strategy to what guns you can take, and multiplying certain guns is just hell of a good damn fun. But that's it for the talents. Let's move on over to the inventory and then talk a little bit about the gearing and the firmware and all that kind of things. So, for the gearing, weapon-wise, anything goes. The stronger the weapon, the better it's gonna be. Snipers, shotgun, assault rifles, pistols, whatever you want. The beauty in this build is that you can almost use anything that is borderline strong enough solo because you have an extra little mini you that can just pick up the slack. So it's not gonna be as good as like the nuke Incarnate Vex build. It's never gonna be as strong, but it is just fun. And you don't feel so alone if you don't have any friends that you can co-op with. It's not me. It's really not me. Anyway, the only thing that I say, and what I was disappointed with, I talked about this earlier. Oh my God, my beautiful favorite baby is just, I can't do double Ghostbusters, which just breaks my heart. But enough about that. So to the weapons, don't feel yourself limited. Anything works. The second point that I call out is the grenade. They're not going to take over heavy weapons. Even if you have the heavy pulled out, they're just going to take the underlying weapon that is currently equipped in your wheel. So just know that. And therefore, the grenade, really anything can be. I mean, Swarm is really popular, but I just have the Go GFC on at the moment because I want that for the firmware, so I didn't want a firmware respec anything. Then, for the wrap kit, it is triple bypass with accelerator. This is going to be the best one for you because that's how you're going to be able to cycle the Specters over and over again. If you take the kill skill with the refresh of the cooldown, you can take something else. But realistically speaking, elemental damage or amp, if you're maybe using something that is a one-shot, those would work. But if you just want to have a very comfortable life, then accelerator with triple bypass will always give you enough chances to have a lot of Specters. And also, you have a 30% chance to refill a charge on kill, right? So realistically speaking, you're never going to run out of Specters. Then, for the enhancement, anything goes. Gun damage is preferred, obviously, and if you use a bod or if you use a DD gun, use one that gives you double damage. That's just how it is. Don't worry about that. Then for shield, I'm using Watts for dinner because I'm using Oh My God or was using Oh My God, but anything really works. Watts for dinner is just going to be very strong, especially if you have my setup. And let me tell you about what I'm doing different. I'm using Teen Witch for this one as well. Now, the reason why is because this way, I will always have the survivability and never have to worry about not having enough shields. So Teen Witch is just gonna constantly heal me and keep me on full without any worries about anything. I know that the meta right now is taking Bloodletter, but the reason why I don't really care about that, because if I want to go a Bloodletter build, I'm going to go my Incarnate Vex build. I'll link it up here as well on the top. Check it out. Then I'm going to use that, and I'm going to blast everyone's face off in a couple seconds. But this is a feel-good build, so I want to make sure that I have fun with it. Teen Witch, coupled with What's for Dinner, is a lot of damage and a constant overshield without any problem. And that is just fun. Easy as that. Now for the firmware, I would recommend go GFC because that one is going to give you the biggest damage and more recycling of the Specters. And then, of course, Action Fist because that one is going to give you some more action skill damage. Now, you could replace action skill with high caliber. You could replace action skill and, well, maybe even if you don't need go GFC, you could also go 3 points in Deadeye. There is a lot of variation there that you can do. Decide depending on your own circumstances. If you have enough action skill and you don't need anything like that, if you have a mini triple bypass with like 10-second cooldown, you don't need the recyclability. Keep it simple. Just think about it logically. Let's cap this baby off with the specialization. And this one is fairly simple. You're gonna take riddle you this because that one is the biggest damage, and if you're running a gun build, you're gonna need that. And we're running a gun build, so we're gonna take that. We're also gonna take now with caffeine because this one is gonna give us a certain more constant refill of our action skill. And we're gonna take I am gun because we want the action skill to benefit from our gun damage because we're gonna have a lot of gun damage. And then we're gonna take Honed Mind because we want the Specters to crit because then they're gonna slay. Simple as that. And look, this was it. The build is as simple as that. I'm not gonna keep you guys anymore hostage any longer than that. So I hope you enjoy it. Try it out. Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you like it compared to the other builds that are out there. You know the drill. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.